Viewers all over the world, wherever you are watching us from, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time and region where you are watching us from. This is Ustv Africa, a station that seeks to speak for the African people, a station that wants to give Africans the avenue to tell the story of the African continent by African people. My name is Onechojon. I am your sailor on the African Sea tonight. Today on the program, we are going to talk about my encounter with We for Africa, a television station in Sierra Leone. I had an invitation from We for Africa, and I was invited to talk about the effect of colonialism. I had an invitation from We for Africa, and I was invited to talk on the effect of neocolonialism on the continent of Africa. I was there. I thought it was a joke, but I was truly and thoroughly drilled. Well, let me not let the cat out of the bag. Watch this program and our encounter with them about the continent of Africa. Happy viewing.
Hi everyone, beautiful day. Muhammad Ali from Freetown, Sierra Leone. Welcome, Muhammad Ali, the CEO and the founder of We for Africa. Today, Sunday, the 3rd of March 2024. Right, today I'm going to take you to Nigeria. We are going to talk about neocolonialism, the effect of neocolonialism on Africa. Right, so today we are going to talk with a hoster, a TV hoster out there in Nigeria, the Ustv. Right, one of their their CEO, right? So he's gonna be with here us soon as possible, right? We are going to talk about the effect of neocolonialism in Africa. What are some of the effects? What are some of the backlash of this colonialism in Africa, and how it is still affecting Africa. We are going to take a few steps and talking about it step by step for each and everyone to understand, right? Like I was saying, Muhammad Ali from Freetown, Sierra Leone, he is going to be here with us as soon as possible, right? So like I was saying, today we are in Nigeria, Abuja, Nigeria, right? The giant of Africa, the biggest and the largest economy in Africa, right? And the third largest producer of oil in Africa, right? So today we take you to Nigeria. Why Nigeria? Because Nigeria is one of the important country in Africa that people needs and started. Africans needs to put in more effort, sensitizing in Nigeria, sensitizing more people about Nigeria than any other country in Africa, because Nigeria being the largest economy and the largest population. So join us today as we going to as I'm going to take you to Nigeria to one of our a Ustv, a television out there in Nigeria, one of their CEO, who is a very vibrant leader, who is going to take us through the interview, right? We're going to interview him live here today. So guys, thank you very much. Like I was saying, Muhammad Ali from Freetown, Sierra Leone. So I'm going to add him now. He's going to be with here. Thank you very much for listening, and be part of invited him as soon as possible. Yeah, I'm just waiting on you. Please accept. Just look at your screen. I've already invited you. Ustv Africa. I've already invited you. Please look at your screen and accept the invitation so you can join the program. Right? Join the program by just look at your screen. Before the whole of the screen, there will be there is an invitation that you have to accept in the screen and be part of the program, please. Like I was saying, Muhammad Ali from Freetown, Sierra Leone. Today I will take you to Abuja, Nigeria. We're going to talk about the effect of neocolonialism in Africa with one of the TV hosters in Nigeria, right? So he's going to be here with us as soon as possible. I've already invited him just to accept the invitation, and we move on. Ustv Nigeria, please accept the invitation. Just look at the screen, and it is out there where you can able to accept and join the conversation. Please join the invitation, please. Okay, he's joining.
Hello,
now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you very much and welcome to the program. Yes, I can hear you, but there is still some flop. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for welcome to the program.
Are you okay? Are you getting me clearly now?
Yeah, I'm getting you loud and clear. Yeah, I'm getting you loud and clear. Thank you very much and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Once again, before we go into the program, let me quickly apologize to our Nigerian viewers where we tell them that it's going to be 5 o'clock Nigerian time. That is without considering the fact that Sierra Leone is ahead of Nigeria 1 hour, and we kept them waiting for almost 1 hour. We are sincerely sorry for that mix-up in timing between Nigeria and Sierra Leone. However, you are welcome to the show where we're going to talk about Africa tonight, and it's my pleasure to be with you online.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate, and to all the listeners, like I was saying, he is the CEO and the founder of the Ustv Nigeria. Right, he is here with us. We're going to talk about the topic of today is the effect of neocolonialism in Africa. Right. So welcome. Introduce yourself, your name, and about everything about your TV station here.
My name is One Chojon. I am a Nigerian and a broadcast journalist. I am the managing director and chief executive officer of Ustv Africa. Ustv Africa stands for Unity Star Television Africa. That is the meaning of Ustv Africa. And our aim on this station is to foster unity and togetherness of the African people across the world, regardless of where you reside. So long as you are an African in Sierra Leone, South Africa, Mozambique, or anywhere, we are one family, one nation, one united Africa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to all the listeners. You are listening from We for Africa, Sierra Leone, West Africa, right? Today, let's proceed on the questions because the time schedule. So the first question here is the neocolonialism is still well and alive in Africa. Take us to some of this neocolonialism effect on Africa, on the continent. Thank you.
For we to talk about the effect of neocolonialism on Africa, first of all, we have to, because among our viewers, we have various level of education. What we understand, what the students in the university understand is different from what those in the secondary school understand. So before we go deeply into talking about the effect of neocolonialism on Africa, let us quickly take a look at what is even neocolonialism. Neocolonialism means a continuation of colonialism after the official independence, where people are given ceremonial independence, but they are not allowed to continue the governance of their country without external influence on the country. You are, politically independent, but economically dependent. Whatever decision you take in your country, multinational organizations like France, America, and other European countries, former colonial allies, continue to have influence on your internal democracy. That is neo-colonialism, advanced form of colonialism. Then, having seen briefly what neo-colonialism is, we now have to go into looking at what are the effects of neo-colonialism on the continent of Africa. There are several effects, negative effects of neo-colonialism on the people and continent of Africa. If you look at it today, all the African countries, 52 of them, 54 of the African countries are already independent politically, but they are not free of external influence from those their former colonial friends or masters. You see that Niger and France continue to have that relationship where the France benefit from Niger, Nigeria, and British still keep that friendship where British benefit at the detriment of Nigeria. So among here, the effect of neocolonialism on the African continent, one of them is the fact that economic exploration. When you talk about economic exploration, the powerful nation or multinational corporations across the world continue to take advantage of the continent of Africa, and these advantages they continue to take away our resources like mineral, agricultural products, and they pay very meager amount of money for those resources that they take away from the continent of Africa. And among the effects of this economic exploration is the fact that those foreign countries take a sort of policy on favorable trade agreement with the African continent to the disadvantage of the African continent, and such trade agreement at the end of the day place a sort of economic burden on the African countries, and unequal economic partnership would continue to keep the African country in a perpetual economic imbalance. That's one of the effects of neocolonialism on the continent of Africa. Another bad effect of neocolonialism on the continent of Africa is political instability. You discover that external power support and manipulate local leaders to serve their interests at the detriment of the citizenry of that country, which at the end of the day continue to lead to high level of corruption of African leaders. You find that the corruption and the high-handedness, authoritarianism of the African leaders is because of the support that they are getting from the foreign countries outside the continent of Africa. So, among other things, social imbalance. In the continent, you will discover that economic policies imposed by external actors on Africa most of the time favor the elite against the larger population of the uneducated Africa. You see that the interaction between Africa and those foreign countries benefits only the leaders and those within the corridor of power. And another one that is very dangerous among the effects of neocolonialism on Africa is cultural influence and identity erosion. That neocolonialism have so affected us in Africa that we lose our culture, we lose our. If you look at our names now, you find Africans, most of the Africans, what is your name? You find Mohammed, Moses, Jacob, Abdullah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I get that.
We don't have African names.
All our names. Our tradition has been scrapped. Our heritage has been scrapped. They stripped away our names, our culture, everything about the African. Like African, any African, like this reminds me when I watch the AFCON. The only country that I find interesting in their names, like the Congo. The Congolese have a very unique name that when you see it, you see traditional in the names, right? But here, for some of us, name Bubakar, Yusuf, and Maxwell, these all are names that doesn't belong to us. Yeah.
So you find out and discover that this influence manifests in language adoption, lifestyle, lifestyle changes, and marginalization of indigenous knowledge. We no longer like what we learn in Africa. We prefer to, copy what we learn from the Europeans. At the end of the day, we even tend to lose our accent, including our style of dressing, our hair making, and all of that. We lose our cultural value to that of the foreigners as a result of what is it called, neo-colonialism. And finally, Africa resource dependency. We depend too largely, on the finished products from the foreign countries at the detriment of our own local production as a result of neo-colonialism on
Thank you very much.
Those are the few negative effects of neo-colonialism on the continent of Africa. And we need to start to abuse the mind of Africans to the originality of our Africa. If you remember, my brother, Africa is the center where human civilization started from. The first form of civilization started here in Africa, and they learned from us, manipulate. So let us return to the original source of civilization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate. You said it all. You said it all. You said it all. Now we're going to take you to the next question. This talks about really Nigeria. I'm very delighted. I'm very happy. You are in Nigeria, and today African problem almost lies in Nigeria, because Nigeria is the most powerful nation in Africa. They have the highest economy and the highest population, and we know population is an economic growth. Right now, as I'm going to take you to the third question, this talks about really about Nigeria, right? Now, Nigeria being is the third largest producer of oil in the world. Why are we still not emerged, right, economically? And what is happening to Dangote oil refinery? Now, this is a two question. Nigeria being the largest producer of oil in the world, and we are still bunching below the way economically. When you look at Nigeria, there is still hunger in Nigeria and like starvation, lack of employment. Are you understanding? Now, the second question that people want to know, there has been Dangote refinery in Nigeria, but since it is done and it is not yet launched, what is the reason for Dangote refinery not to start operating? Thank you. Two in one.
All right. Several factors to the questions you asked, especially if I get you correctly, Nigeria is a large population country. We have the largest population in Africa, and we are so blessed with and endowed with all the mineral resources, so blessed with resources that Nigeria shouldn't have any issue of poverty. But again, reverse is the case where we have all the resources, but yet very, very poor. The level of poverty is high, and the masses of Nigeria are suffering, and we still lack basic infrastructural and amenities. Well, as a matter of fact, if I understand this, let me put it to you that
wait. The first one is an overview. The question here is, Nigeria is the third largest producer of oil in the world, but still Nigeria cannot produce the oil that they are using, right? So this is like a hegemony where the British control the entire, grounds of Nigerian oil. So what is the reason? Why you in Nigeria, you fully understand what is happening in Nigeria? Why? A country like Britain, a small Britain, like they colonized India, they colonized Singapore, they colonized China, but China have overtaken them. But why still Nigeria is under a small Britain, and as the third largest producer of oil in the world, Nigeria? And why? Tell us more about this.
Yeah, that is the point I am trying to make. That the scenario in Nigeria is like somebody in the middle of an ocean but doesn't have water to drink. You understand what I'm saying? We have all it takes, in terms of oil production. But among the problems that we have with our oil production and why it is happening like that, number one of it is that Nigeria is highly dependent on oil export of oil. We depend largely on exportation of oil, and as a result of that, any international change in the oil price affects entirely the Nigerian economy. We set up, looking inward to refine our fuel in Nigeria, we depend on the crude that we export out of the country. Instead of looking to develop, internally, we depend on external influence, which any slight change in the price of oil in the international market affects our economy back here at home. Another factor that affects the Nigerian oil sector is high level of corruption. High level of corruption and mismanagement in the oil sector. If you look at the allocation of oil, the allocation of revenue and all of that, the level of corruption by what we call cabal, there's a few number of individuals and organizations that benefit from the oil while the larger masses of Nigeria suffer at the long run of it. I remember in 2015 when General Muhammad Buhari took over power, he promised that by year he is going to revive one of the refineries. That implies that at the end of the 4 years, the 4 refineries in Nigeria will have been fully functional. But he spent 8 years and not one of the refineries come back to life and is revived to function. Another one is we have staff of NPC, Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, that take salary and take yearly from the national budget on a refinery or on refineries that are not functioning. That is another high level of corruption. And my brother, let me tell you when we talk about corruption in Nigeria. People may think it's just limited to bribery, giving and taking bribe. No, there is, there are individuals and companies owned by those in government that are responsible for exporting our crude oil, take our crude oil out of the country, refine, and bring back in a refined product. Meaning, they take out a raw product and bring in finished product. And by so doing, that is what brought in the issue of subsidy in Nigeria, subsidy addition and subsidy removal. If we have refineries in Nigeria and we have crude oil in Nigeria, what does it take the government to revive our refineries instead of waiting to take it out and bring in finished product? But because people in between the government and the masses are benefiting, they wouldn't want this oil sector to come back to life and become functional. So the problem of middlemen, the masses, middlemen, and government is the major problem, and that is what brought in that high level of corruption, leading to where we are in the oil sector. I only blame the government for this long silence. When President Bola Tinubu came into power, the very first day of his assumption of office, at the inauguration, he did announce removal of fuel subsidy. Yes, good and fine. If you are going to remove fuel subsidy, remove the subsidy and fix our refinery. It's good to hear. But what do we have at the end of it? He removed subsidy according to him, and he's giving the money to governors to share to masses. My brother, where in the world did you see government giving food to people? What the government do is to create enabling environment for people to earn their living. You don't give people food to eat, and that is a very another serious and advanced level of corruption in the Nigerian oil sector and the subsidy cabal. Then another one that affects Nigerian oil, that our third economy and we cannot produce anything. We have oil, we have diamond, we have everything. And another factor that is affecting our oil sector is environmental degradation. Over the years, the regions from where this oil is produced, like the Niger Delta and the southern part of Nigeria, is been underdeveloped. The environment have been affected by oil spillage, gas flaring, and all of that. And as such, the people in those regions agitate that they should be compensated adequately for the damages being done to their life, property, environmental, farmland, and fish river for fishing. And as a result of this agitation, they vandalize pipeline and go into oil bunkering, because what is supposed to come to them from the government is not forthcoming. And by the time they vandalize those facilities, this fuel and oil facilities, it cut down the level of production. As a result, at the long run, it affects oil production and economy of Nigeria. Finally, security concern. The Nigeria pipeline and maritime security is so porous that people go and vandalize and take away crude oil. On daily basis, you see crude oil being smuggled out of Nigeria in batches and in millions of barrels without the government knowing. At the end of the day, what goes out of the country through smuggling is more than what is produced and accounted for by the Nigerian government. As a solution, the government need to rise up to the occasion and face corruption head on long. That is, if the government is not involved in the corruption, then they should fight the corruption and revive the oil sector in Nigeria so that it will boost the Nigeria economy and have, a cut down chain effect in development on the neighboring country in West Africa like Ghana, Cameroon, and Niger, and those around us. But as long as the corruption continue and the mismanagement of the oil resources continue, the Nigerian oil will continue to be a problem instead of blessing to Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I know, like, it's two in one. So what's really happens to Dangote refinery?
At the Dangote refinery, like I on my personal opinion, which could be minority, is a scam. What I say is a scam is because they told us they are giving Nigerians 2 different days that the refinery is going to come in place. and it has even been launched and commissioned. But up till now, not even a keg of oil is produced from Dangote refinery, as much as Nigerians are aware. At the end of the day, they complain in the price, the disparity between the Dangote company and the federal government. But up till now, it has been commissioned, and they have not really come out to tell us why they are not fully producing. Ideally, in a capitalist economy like this, where private sectors are establishing refineries here and there, we are starting to see competitions between the Dangote refinery, the NNPC, and other individually owned refineries, which will check and reduce the cost of fuel in Nigeria. But up to now, we are yet to hear from Dangote why they are not producing up to the 7 months after launching and commissioning.
Okay, thank you very much. I know, like, this is very interesting to each and everyone, because, you know, like, we've been seeing it is already launched and commissioned, and what is really happening. And for the problem here is we are seeing a smaller nations like Qatar, Dubai, Libya, you know, like, they've been rich through their oil, just oil they have in their countries. And Nigeria have larger than that, multiple than that, and Nigeria is still launching below the way. This is a very, like, a very dynamic, solution that needed to be founded, you know, like, to tackle this particular Nigeria issue. Nigeria is, you know, is a giant of Africa. Without Nigeria progress, without the progress of Nigeria, there is no progress of Africa.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem of poverty in Nigeria is not poverty of resources, but poverty of idea and poverty of leadership. Poverty in the land, we have poverty on the mind. We don't have poverty, in policy. We have very good policy, we have every of the resources to take, but the poverty we have is poverty of idea and poverty of leadership. Bad governance, and that is the only problem with Nigeria. Corruption and governance.
Thank you very much. I get you. Thank you very much. So let's start with the next question here. The next question says, terrorism is the problem of our time in Africa. You know, like, a country with resources, without a destabilization, they will think twice, you know, and make use of their resources, right? So that's why we have the terrorism, because we have resources. Now, terrorism is a problem of our time in Africa, especially Nigeria, and they only can be found in the resources territories, right? What are the games behind this? What do they want, and what we should be doing upon a huge supply of sophisticated weapons? Who are giving us these weapons?
Well, security, terrorism, security, and arms are very sensitive matters that I'm not a security expert. Country at the moment, but in this Nigeria is tense at this very moment in terms of security. But peripherally, and to the best of my knowledge, the terrorism in Nigeria is more or less a socio-economic issue. It's not totally security, but socio-economy. If you look at the terrorism, the areas that are having issues of terrorism in Nigeria are areas that are endowed with one form of natural resources or another that are of interest to the international community. If you look at Maiduguri, for instance, where you have Boko Haram, and the Boko Haram issue is not coming to an end, Maiduguri is having, a type of special resources that is used for perfume. They have gold and some deposit of petroleum there that some international communities are interested in, and therefore they fuel this terrorism from the international front. They arm the local militia to, to cause tension in those areas, so that as the tension is going on. They hide under detention to, illegally, explore those resources and take them away at the detriment of the masses. So when you ask who armed them, we will say that it is those international organizations that are illegally benefiting from the resources in those regions that are, arming those terrorists against the Nigerian army and the Nigerian people and against the state. However, the Nigerian government too have some bad egg among the Nigerian security architecture that are benefiting from the terrorism in Nigeria, and that is why terrorism seems to be endless in Nigeria. If you listen to the amount of money that is being budgeted for against terrorism,
I don't want to continue. I don't want to continue. You raise a very important point where you say there is very security personnel that is within the security sector of Nigeria, the military, that is directly benefiting from the terrorist institution in Nigeria, right? This is a very important point.
Yeah.
The same people that intended to fight terrorism, they are very like.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, the Nigerian budget on security is so huge that those that are at the echelon of security management in Nigeria will not want the security in Nigeria to end, because they are benefiting from it at the detriment of the lower ranking officers in the front facing the terrorism war directly. Another angle to the security, terrorism and insecurity in Nigeria is, socio-political. There are some politicians that are hiding under this issue of insecurity to witch hunt their political opponents and their enemies in the name of terrorism. But if you go down deeply, the original intention behind some of those here in the of terrorism are politically motivated. By politicians who benefit from the civil unrest in the terrorist area. And another one is the high level of poverty and insecurity. When people don't have job, when people do to eat, and they don't have the basic amenities needed to keep life going, they become exposed and vulnerable to use by, to be misused for insecurity. Such unemployed and highly impoverished Nigerians are readily available for use by politicians and those that are benefiting from the civil unrest to cause mishape, and that is why insecurity in Nigeria seems endless. And it's not even a Nigeria thing. It's a continental thing within the region of Africa. It is a global challenge on every government of the world. But why that of Nigeria is like this is because of the one I've told you, and another last and very important one is our border system. People cross in and out of Nigeria without a thorough check. On the borderline between Nigeria and Niger. If you go to communities like Ilela, we have about 6 states that borders the neighboring countries, and people in and out freely unchecked. So our border is so porous that you cannot really tell who is in Nigeria, who is in Niger, and who cross in or out. That is why insecurity in Nigeria is very difficult. We don't have a centralized database where you can tell this is a Nigeria, this is a foreigner, this is this, and that is that. So all this lack in data management, border control, and all of that are factors that contribute to insecurity and terrorism in Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to ask: is this terrorist a very specified, tribe? It has been a direct confrontation between the terrorism, the Afghanis. Is it true it is a specific tribe that particularly terrorized in Nigeria?
No. The security in Nigeria is not a tribal thing, it's a general thing. If you go to the northeast, you have the Boko Haram. If you go to the northwest, you have the bandits. If you come to the Middle East, you have Fulani herders and the clash between Fulani herders and the farmers. If you go to the southeast, you have the IPOB and the Nigerian military clash in there. If you go to the south, Niger Delta, you have the Niger Delta militant and all of that. So, I mean, it's a general thing in Nigeria, and it varies from one region to another. Except that the issue of Fulani became a stereotype issue when Buhari came into power as the president of Nigeria. That was when the Fulani headers seems to, take more front stage in the news about terrorism, because the president that time was a Fulani person, and the stereotyping pattern of addressing security challenge in Nigeria seems to give a very soft landing to the Fulani ethnic group in Nigeria, and that is why people tend to think that Fulani are the terrorists. But again, I'll put it to you that terrorism is not limited to one tribe in Nigeria. Every region in Nigeria have their own type of terrorism, and it's peculiar, and it is peculiar to that region of the country. What made people seem to talk more about Fulani during Buhari was his refusal to declare them terrorist organization. He declared IPOB a terrorist organization. He declared Islamic movement in Nigeria a terrorist organization, but failed to declare the Fulani group a terrorist organization, even when it was obvious that they have a very serious face-off with a lot of Nigeria. He refused to declare them terrorist organization, and that's why people seem to talk about it. Otherwise, terrorism in Nigeria is not a tribal thing; it's a general phenomenon.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Now, after all what we've been discussing, like the instability, the high level of corruption in Nigeria, I know, because we talk about neocolonialism, right? So this is outside having influence in Africa. This is all what we've been talking about. Now we are going to talk about the Alliance of the Sahel. How do they take, steps to solve this particular problem that we'll be discussing? Are you understanding? The means of us taking our destiny in our hand, us having total control of our resources, us stabilizing our continent, right? Now I'm going to take you to the Sahel. Now the Alliance of the Sahel is making Africa proud, and they are giving in what we deserve as the eye opener on how we free ourselves to be self-reliant. However, nationalize our resources, also take our destiny in our hand, right? When I talk about the Sahel, it's the three countries. I mean the Mali, the Burkina Faso, and the Niger. And we already see the islands, and they keep from the ECOWAS. They ban the ECOWAS because they know ECOWAS is not just it's the puppet tool that is not installed to Africa, to spy and give information to West how they can able to recolonize Africa and have access to the resources. And these three countries, Greater and the one in Niger, all what all what Africa wants, what the wish of all the Africans right now, home and abroad, they are seen in the manifesto of these three countries. What they try to do, they want to arrange themselves one security center, one currency, borderless, no between themselves, no paper required, free trade area. So what's the fix in this related to Nigeria?
Well, that is a very, very good idea. I am happy that our Africans are becoming conscious of our Africanness. But again, I want to differ a little in the militarization of the African agitation for self-reliance. If you look at it, what happened in Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso is purely militarized. It's the use of the arm and military to take over power so that they can revive the economy and restructure Africa. Good. But the first thing I will want to suggest as an individual is what we need as Africa, first of all, is ideological revolution. intellectual revolution, attitudinal revolution, Africanization of our education. I think that is where the whole thing should start from. Before talking about the military taking over of power, let us first of all take over the thinking of our upcoming generation by promoting our African identity, our African culture, our African heritage, our African identity. Let us remind them the role of our late leaders in Africa, like the ideologies of Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, like that of Nelson Mandela, and other, known Sikh of Africa, Tafawa Balewa, Nana Olofisekiri, and all of these people. Let us, take our younger generation back to our root and origin of Africa. What were the contribution of our past African leader towards the growth of Africa before the invasion and de-Africanization of the African people? When we understand our root and history, then we go back again to our values. Then and there we begin to know which were the infiltrated culture, which were the brought-in idea that led to corruption. Then we disengage ourselves from the negative influence of colonialism, then begin to approach our economy from the African front, from the African idea on how to manage our African resources. Then and there, we can now talk of taking over power. Although I agree with the tenets of democracy, but when democracy becomes absolutely corrupt, you have no option. Somebody, like a quotation that I used to look at, they say when you make peaceful changes impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable. African leaders have made it impossible for African youth to grow, for African economy to grow, and as such, that is why people take arm and take over power so that they can restructure things. So what I will advise is Nigeria should be careful. Nigeria should learn lesson from what has happened in Niger, from what has happened in Mali, from what has happened in Burkina Faso, so that such a thing will not happen in Nigeria. And if you don't want it to happen, start developing the country, start alleviating poverty, start providing basic amenities, guarantee security of life and property, ensure peace in the country, and there won't be need for any military takeover or agitation by the citizens. It is dependence on foreign Niger over dependent France, and that is why they took to the street protest. And the day France was leaving Niger, people were jubilating. They took to the street, celebrating the military for taking over power and chasing away these new colonialists and imperialists.
Okay.
So
okay, I don't want to continue. I don't want to continue. Hello.
Yeah.
I don't want to continue. This is just exactly what is happening between Niger and Nigeria. Now, Niger is the highest producers of uranium in Africa, almost second in the world, right? But they don't have access to these particular resources. Likewise, Nigeria. Nigeria is the third largest producer of oil in the world. They don't have access to their oil. This is benefiting just the hierarchy of the government individuals, not the population. What the steps that these countries take, what they did here is, they know these NGOs, right? They are the ones that are supplying intelligence to terrorism. This UN, these embassies. My own understanding here is, why can't Nigeria just one day wake up the whole population of Nigeria, including, like, we don't have a president in Nigeria. Like, let's say we have it for sake, but we just have a picture who just sitting there out there like doing nothing. Just waking up one day and say, no, British is too small to control 200 plus million population and third largest population in the highest populated country in Africa. It is too small. Now we cannot tolerate it anymore. They drive the UN. We don't need any UN security in Nigeria. We don't need any NGOs. All the head of NGOs in Nigeria should leave our territories. Now we are going to fight the terrorists ourselves. Let's see. This happened in Mali. This is what Mali did. This is what the president of Egypt, this is what he did to succeed. By the time there is Israel trying to fight, Egypt, He abandoned the West and go to Russia. By then it was Soviet Union. They give him weapons. That's why he able to conquer the Israelis. Are you understanding me?
I'm
So
with
this
you.
is one thing I was saying. Why can't Nigeria just wake up one day and chase away the UN, chase away this all Oxfam, UNICEF, this UNFC, all these NGOs. They are the people who is supplying intelligence, supplying food stuff to this terrorism, and destabilizing the countries. They are giving all statistics of what is happening in the country to the terrorists, where and how how they should attack. And they are the ones who supplying the weapons. So that's my just concern, like why Nigeria with this big population, like so corrupt, why can't they wake up and do what Mali did? Because they already see the solution. And this is the optimal solution for Africa now. Yes, this is just my point that I want to raise, yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. There's apart from all the affirmation problems earlier, another problem that we have in Nigeria majorly is tribalism, sectionalism, and tribalism. You see, that is why let me take you a little backward through our history and of leadership in Nigeria. When President Buhari was there was a sort of mass protest by Nigeria titled EndSARS protest. And in that protest, when Nigeria took to the street, you saw yourself the willingness, the readiness, the agility of Nigerians that they really need change. It means that any day Nigerians come out like that and they say, today, we don't want any of those multinational organizations in our country. If they revolt against the multinational companies in Nigeria, Shell should go, Total should go, UN leave our country, UNICEF leave us alone, and all of that. That will be the end of external influence and neo-colonialism in Nigeria. But again, there's a problem. When it was during Buhari and people start protesting, the northerners, where Buhari come from, they say it is the southerners and non-Muslims that are witch hunting Buhari because he is one of their own. That is tribal influence. Now that Tinubu is there, if the Nigerians should come out, you will discover that the Yoruba side of Nigeria, where Tinubu come from, will say, no, 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 no. It is the northerners that are financing people against our brother. This tribal and sectional idea is one thing that have held Nigeria on the neck and is preventing our growth. But again, one day, that day will come when Nigeria will say no, regardless of the tribe, regardless of where you worship, regardless of the language you speak, regardless of your color, we will speak one day. Like one of my philosophers, late Bob Nestor Mali will say, and he said, until one day, we Africans will fight when we find it necessary. And we know we shall win because we are confident of the victory of good over evil. Africa will rise one day. Nigeria will rise one day. And that day, the British will fail. The France will fail. All the multinational will fail. You see the Nigerian Southerners, the Nigerian Northerners coming out united in one voice to fight those that are taking away our common resources in the name of international organization. And that day when Nigeria is free, the entire African continent will be free. Just a matter of time.
That's absolutely. When Nigeria is free, all of Africa is free.
I agree with you.
Yeah, sure. And it is a very I'm very happy right now. It is the younger generation eager for more united Africa than ever before. Now the younger generation, like you and I are doing, like this has never been before. Like firstly there was a separation between, but now everybody thinks about Africa. Nobody thinks about their countries anymore. You've been doing like USTV Africa, right? You are doing USTV Africa. Now you are not even thinking about USTV Nigeria or USTV, Gambia. You are saying USTV Africa. This means Africa United. So thank you very much, brother. I'm going to take it to the next question. Are you ready for this? Oh. Okay, guys, thank you very much. I don't know, he lost his connections. We've been doing interview. We're talking about Nigeria, because Nigeria is one of the fundamental problems here in Africa. where they are the largest population in Africa, firstly. They are the largest economy in Africa, thirdly. They are the third largest producers of oil in Africa, in the world, sorry. Third largest producers of oil in the world. Now, the reason being here, why we have to talk about Nigeria, the awakening of Nigeria is the awakening of Africa. The liberation of Nigeria is the liberation of Africa, right? Nigeria has oil before then Dubai. Nigeria has oil before then Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and other countries in the world. Why Nigeria is still working below the way. Now, when we talk about the population, 200 plus population, that's a very economic power. Because this is a very opportunity that China uses that makes them today one of the superpower. The Russians use to make them today one of the superpower. India also, that makes them the superpower, and other countries. Are you understanding? So they have the population, they have the resources, they have everything that it takes, to liberate. And when Nigeria liberates, all of Africa is liberated. We have to force ourselves, for the liberation of Africa. When Nigeria is liberated, all of Africa is liberated. So thank you very much. And now we are going to take it as a call. I know you like the bad connection, but you are right now. Thank you very much for being here. And as I'm going to take you to the next question, are you ready for this?
All right. Can you hear me now?
Are you ready for this? We are going to take the next question because you went out and you come back. I invited you to come back. No problem. It's okay.
All right. There was power failure. Power failure.
That's not
I have to change over to solar.
I know. That's what we. That's what we talking about. Nigeria does
fly to Cameroon and Niger.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, we've been exhausting a lot of the two questions. We are going to deal with these two questions, and then we end the interview. Now, to your message to the Africans in the diaspora. These are the people that we cannot left out. They are the Africans. They are like they left Africa sadly and went to the overseas. Now they have a economic power. They have a skill, resources power, right? So what is your message to this diaspora, like for them to come home and invest? And I can remind you, in the 1960s, 60% of the foreign investment in China is from the Chinese diaspora. In Africa, when we say direct investment, when you say investment, people thinking about the resources. The diaspora have to take their resources, to come back. Yes, they can do, but Africa needed the skills more than the resources that they are coming with, because we have the resources. We don't know how to exploit these resources ourselves, but they do. They are out there in the overseas. They do. So we encourage them, to come back home and invest in the resources and the skills they have in the African continent. So what is the message to the diaspora to come home? Like, this is their continent. Are you understand? Yeah.
The role of the Africans in diaspora cannot be overemphasized. They have gone out of the country. They have seen what is obtainable in the Western world. They have acquired the knowledge and the resources. Let them bring it back home to Africa in the form of remittance. You discover that there are Africans, Sierra Leoneans in America, Nigerians in Britain, and all of that. They have gone there. Some of them do send in money in the form of dollars to assist their family at home. Remittance of finance back to Africa is part of a contribution that they can do to develop Africa. Apart from a financial contribution, they should equally do entrepreneurship. They have gone out of Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Gambia, Mozambique, South Africa, out of the continent of Africa to acquire skills out there. Let them bring back these skills and the younger generation of Africa in form of entrepreneurship, so that the African younger generation can equally benefit from what they have acquired there in form of entrepreneurship. Another one is knowledge transfer. There are those that have gone there to acquire knowledge in form of formal education, formal or informal education. Those things that you have gone there to learn, come back home and do that African volunteerism.
where you can come back to any school in those rural areas and volunteer to teach them free, transfer the knowledge that you have acquired from there, so that other Africans in the back at home can benefit from the knowledge you have acquired from there. Another one, there should be diaspora network and organization like Association of Sierra Leoneans in America, Association of Nigerians in Saudi Arabia, Ghanaian Union in Russia. Form such organization, African Association of Africans in Diaspora. Form that such organization in the diaspora, then bring the knowledge and resources put together by this organization back home to impact on the continent of Africa. And by so doing, those in diaspora can help us widen the horizon of African youth. And above all, anytime the Africans in diaspora are constantly in thinking of their African home, they will now tell the African generation that Africa is more original than what they see and think of the Europeans. Let them tell the Africans back at home that they have gone to the white man's city, they have seen what is obtainable in Europe and Asia and European, and let them remind our Africans that we are more original than those people that we're looking at as being more superior than us. And the only thing that is making us see them as superior is because we have not been to their country. If we travel to their places, you see that they are more impoverished than us. What we just need is little change in leadership, little change in our direction of thinking, and indigenization of our resources. And before you know, the sky will be the starting point of Africa. Any day we realize the value, the world will bow to Africa. And my brother, let me inform you, the next world superpower is coming to Africa, and that is when humanity will have liberalization and freedom.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You said it all. You said it all. The diaspora, Africa need the diaspora the most. I watched one of some many TV channels, many broadcasting channels in America and other different sites, like in the other Caribbean, like this guy Wadamaya, he visits almost all the Caribbean black countries in the world. They are really, feel like to come home, and they are understanding that they belong to Africa. Wherever they belong, they're just there for for a moment. They know where their home is, which is Africa. And they are driving all the possible means, to make Africa, where it's supposed to be. But through education, because this is the world of digitalization, the world of the media. Us talking, many people are watching us. Are you understanding? So we can able to motivate people to do more. People are inspired by other people. Are you understanding? So by we disseminating messages saying all the black people in the world, they are born of Africa. Perform in Africa, elevate the status of black people everywhere they are. Non-perform in Africa, keep them where they look at. Are you understanding? So if there is a wars and hungers in Africa, the black people, wherever they are, they are going to be disrespected. Now let's just imagine America is Africa is a superpower. How will the Africans in the diaspora look like? Everybody will honor them because they know they have a place to come that is very developed. I think we missed them again. Okay, guys, thank you very much. We've been talking about the diaspora, and if you are watching Beef Africa, the live interview right now, if you are a diaspora, this is what we are talking about. In the 1960s, right, of China, that which make China today, 1960s. 60% of the foreign direct investment to China is from the Chinese in the diaspora, right? So we can able to do this in Africa. So let's 60% of the foreign investment in Africa, let's be Africans in the diaspora. We don't say when we say investment, we just mean the resources, physical resources. We mean skills. Africa need more skills than even the resources, because we have the resources. How to transform these resources, that's what we lack. So we need power dynamic, we need intellectual, we need skills that need to help to take Africa where it's supposed to be. So guys, thank you very much. Thanks for watching again. Once more, Muhammad Ali from Freetown, Sierra Leone. I know most of people like don't know Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is a very peaceful and beautiful country with white sand beaches. We live in the western part of Africa, right? Latitude 710 degrees centigrade in the world map. Just look at one map at western part of the of Africa. You find out there's a small tiny country called Freetown, Sierra Leone. It was colonized by Britain, right? Our capital city is Freetown. Check it out. Check it out. Freetown is a very nice country, and Africa, wherever you want to start. And for sure, with Africa, I've already started our tourism company. We're going to, establish our tourism sector. If you want to visit Africa, with Africa, make it possible. Through with Africa, you can able to visit Africa wherever you go, safe and comfortable. So, guys, thank you very much for being part of With Africa, and we are going to end the meeting here today. Thank you very much. I love you all, listeners and followers of With Africa. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.